Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time, is coming to current-gen, next-gen consoles and Nintendo Switch. But is this just a simple graphical increase, or is there more? Let's talk about it.
Whoa!
What's up guys, Canadian Guy here, and back with a brand new Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time video. Activision had released about 6 minutes total of footage for the upcoming ports of Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time. We learned that for the Switch version, Toys for Bob is aiming for a 1080p docked mode and a 720p in handheld mode with the frame rate targeting 30 frames. For the new current gen consoles though, they are aiming for that crisp, eye-catching, beautiful 4K 60 frames.
How's this, Squidward? It's beautiful!
Now, some may not quite understand what it means for a game to be natively 4K. Here's a quick example. This is 4K footage, and this is 1080p footage. Notice how the 1080p footage is smaller? That's because the 4K footage has a higher resolution. However, TVs will stretch or shrink that image to its max size. That's why when you look at 4K footage on a 1080p screen, you may not notice a big difference in terms of color or graphics or resolution. But if you look at a 1080p image on a 4K screen and then compare that 1080p footage to 4K footage on the same 4K monitor, that's when you'll see a massive difference. You can also see the difference when we zoom in. Here is a screenshot taken from the PlayStation 4. And here is the exact same shot for the new ports. See how Crash's fur is much more detailed and the textures of the surrounding objects are not as blurry? Yeah, that is why we want that 4K resolution. But these next-gen ports bring more than just pretty pictures, but smoother ones as well. The games from the previous gen ran at different frame rates depending on the console that you had. The game runs at an uncapped frame rate with a target at 60 frames. While the Xbox One X and PlayStation 4 Pro could handle this frame rate at a decent pace, the base consoles suffered greatly, swinging anywhere from 25 to 40 frames, creating at times a very jittery experience. In this footage here, I averaged the frame rate out to about 30 frames and then just clamped it there. This is just so you can get a clear and consistent picture of what playing on the previous gen looked like, especially in comparison to the solid 60 frames that the new current gen consoles have been able to achieve. Now, seeing the game operate at 60 frames isn't that big of a deal. We've seen it on the Xbox One X and the PlayStation 4 Pro. But seeing the game operate at 60 frames and 4K resolution, yeah, that's awesome. But as I was combing through the footage, I started to find more changes and adjustments that go beyond a simple resolution and frame rate increase. Now, you may have already noticed from the previous comparisons, but the lighting has been souped up significantly. Areas that were seemingly too dark are now lit nicely. The blacks are darker toned and the colors overall just pop a lot more in comparison to the release consoles. But a big change definitely happened on Hit the Road. In fact, out of all the footage that we've seen thus far on next gen and Switch, Hit the Road has gotten the most changes. Don't worry, we're going to be referring back to Hit the Road multiple times. The colors here are not as dusty orange, but more of a concentrated, vibrant sunset orange. Changes like this are going to be a huge thing throughout the entire game. But not just lighting, but camera and camera positioning as well. Crash Bandicoot is a series that uses a camera that is on the rails and follows a set path. You move left, the camera follows. You stop, the camera stops. Likewise with jumping, sliding, and every other action that Crash or Coco does. In two of the shots, I noticed a camera angle change. See Tawna here? This is a shot from the release consoles. See where the satellite dishes are on the top left corner? Now let's take a look at the new current gen. Notice the difference? We see a lot more of the top of the satellites than we did before, but an even bigger change is on Hit the Road. Take a look at the comparison footage that I had shown before. Now look at the top half of the screen. You can see that we can see a lot more of the top area of the level. The Doom rig was kinda cut off by the top of the screen at times on the previous generation, so seeing that adjustment is pretty nice. Ultimately, I think the camera adjustments are meant to keep the characters more centered on screen, to make them easier for the player to see overall while also seeing the environment a lot better. But not only have we gotten color and camera adjustments, but things are also literally being added to the game. Take a look at this wide shot of the snacks dimension. This is from the PS4. Now, this is a shot from the PlayStation 5, and if you look in the back here where there was once a blank spot, we now see buildings added, obviously to make the landscape look much fuller and wider. But there's even more. Back onto Hit the Road, they actually added an entire bloody stone wall to the entire stage. Literally, look on the left side. You used to be able to see the previous parts of the stage that you just came from. Now it gets blocked off by a large stone wall. This is likely an error in the original game, as you can see into the beyond and to the bottomless platforms. As Crash runs along though, you can see all the extra details added along the side of this section, which honestly tells me that there is more love and detail being added to the game. Now, there's one more thing I want to show. The Switch also had a spotlight showing off some footage. Again, it runs at 1080p docked and 720p handheld, but in the gameplay, there was something that was visibly changed, something that people have been screaming and complaining about: Polar. Polar has been a source of countless rage-inducing moments in Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time, especially when trying to 100% the level and getting that insanely perfect relic. The reason being is simply that Polar's hitboxes was way too small. If you missed the box, you would have to either finish the level without it, and obviously not 100% it, or die to reset the run. And if you were going for the insanely perfect run, guess what? You had to restart the entire level. And because of said small hitbox, this was something that was commonly happening to many speedrunners and completionists. Thankfully, coming with the next gen update, we get a hitbox that is much bigger in size for our little Polar. Take a look at this comparison here in slow-mo. See how on the PS4 side you did the same thing as the next gen patch you would, but you would miss the boxes? Meanwhile, on the next gen patch, they would hit them no problem. This is going to allow a lot more wiggle room and a lot less frustration for players trying to 100% the game. And yes, I do believe this patch will be coming to the release consoles as well. So if you're a PS4 player or an Xbox One player, you will get this patch probably too. Overall, this is nothing but a small sneak peek. We've only seen 3 minutes of the updated current gen and 3 minutes of Switch, but even with a small amount of footage, we could find differences and new changes. Imagine what the full game will be like. What else do you want to see in the updated game? Comment below and let me know. Thank you so much to all those who not only support the channel, but myself and my family. Because of your contributions, I'm able to do this full time. If you'd like to support the channel, please consider clicking the join button or becoming a Patreon with the link in the description. I also live stream every Thursday and Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Come on by and say hi. Again, thank you to everyone, and I'll see you guys in the next video and or live stream.